Hey guys, welcome back again to the Outer Dimensions podcast, where every week we discuss all your sci-fi, horror, and fantasy movies, your action movies, everything in between. And this week we are talking about the Warriors of the Future, but of course, those who are doing talking are, well, me, Dave of Dave's Dimension, and of course, Dre.
What's up, everybody? Good to have you this week. And again, Warriors of the Future. I am so psyched to talk about these movies because I feel like they are iconic, chunks of pop culture. At least two of them are. I don't know if we can agree with Time Cop, but, they grossed a lot of money. So, that's at least what I'm thinking.
We got Colin popping in the chat saying, "What's up?" Hey, what's up, Colin? And you guys definitely after this stream, you definitely want to go over to That Effing Figures and check out Joe and Colin. They got a great show coming up at 9 p.m. Eastern. But until then,
Leatherface is going to be on their show tonight, folks. So definitely check him out. It's going to be an interesting show. I'll definitely be popping in there after this broadcast is over and just giving them a little watch over. So we appreciate you guys doing that for us. But yeah, the way this, no spoilers, I haven't seen any of them yet. You haven't seen any of the movies we mentioned? Get out of town.
We got LeBron Fett popping in the chat.
Now, we have to give spoilers. That's what these movies are about. This is what we do on our channel.
Equally, some of these movies are 20 or more years old. So the spoiler alert has expired on that.
Yeah, the spoiler ban for me is usually 30 days. I'm nice to give everybody 30 days to go see a brand new film. Once it's beyond that, it's open game. So,
by the way, we have the Tree Whisperer himself in the chat. We got Duffman.
Hey, Duffman, good to see you. Oh, we got Jeff in the chat too. Good to see you, Jeff. Oh, and LeBron said he was joking. LeBron,
you better be, man. You lose the card doing that.
I'm saying I'm going to revoke it. I'm just going to come in there and just take it from you. So again, folks, like we were trying to tell you before we had our little hiccup, the overarching theme is Warriors of the Future, but it's not just Warriors of the Future. See, like we wanted to theme it to time travel, but there's not that many great action movies that Dave or I could think of that were like, there's iconic ones like Back to the Future, The Time Machine with Guy Ritchie, which is actually based on a novel. I can go down the list.
Like the grandson of the writer, Simon Wells, the great grandson of H.G. Wells.
So, we could go down the gamut of all those sorts of movies. But I was like, no, we had to like really, and it's hard because like Dave says, my brain starts going. Like when we brainstorm, I'm thinking, hey, Dave, I'm like, we can do like 5 movies. He's like, Dre, no, let's do 3. And I'm like, crap.
Because if we do 5 movies, we're going to be here for 2 hours. Plain and simple.
Very true.
Even us doing 3 movies in 1 hour that's going to be a challenge. So,
but that's the work. But that makes the challenge fun.
Yes.
So, do you want to pop the cheat sheet up there so people can see what we got?
Yes, let's do that right now.
So every week there will be a cheat sheet, folks, because I like making them.
Yeah, we have Warriors of the Future. First cheat sheet is going to be, of course, we went with Time Cop, Jean-Claude Van Damme, which also starred. Now, of course, he listed here Jean-Claude Van Damme, JVCD, which sounds like an electronics company from the 90s, but
Hey man, he had JVCD was his autobiography. Yeah. Was his TV show that he had on
Amazon.
Epix. Oh, it was on Amazon? I thought it was on Epix too, because I remember watching it on Epix.
Yeah, I know it was on Amazon for a good minute. Ron Silver, who is a tremendously great bad guy. A lot of people, a lot of people watch this may not know Ron Silver. but he's mostly like late 80s, early 90s. Uh, he's great as the senator in this movie,
Oh yeah,
the rich, greedy senator who wants to. Yeah, well, we won't get too into that until we talk about the plots. And of course, one of my crushes from way back, Mia Sarah. If you're not familiar with her, she is the girl from Ferris Bueller's Day Off. She is Tom
yes, she
Cruise's love
is
in Legend.
legend.
I mean, she's been all over the place. And I want to say she was even in. She kind of had a time travel thing because I think she appeared in the show Time Tracks.
Yes, she did, which is what inspired
Yeah,
this one.
that
That time cop, is that the one with the DeLorean? Yes, of course it is.
no, but it's got a very cool looking vehicle that allows it to travel through time, although it vanishes. It's got a weird. We won't get too much into that. But also Bruce McGill, who anyone who's I mean, this guy he's notoriously played B and background characters throughout movies. Like he played, oh God, what was his name? Blanket Doomsday. He played D-Day, Doomsday, or D-Day in Animal House. He appeared in Quantum Leap in a series of episodes there. He was MacGyver's best friend in the original series with Richard Dean Anderson. He's even appeared opposite of Bruce Willis in The Last Boy Scout. He's appeared in so many different movies and TV shows over
He was in
the.
the MCU. He was in the MCU as a
Yes.
recent senator in Iron Man 3. So this is as far as you can look back.
No, you're thinking of Gary Shandling.
No, not Gary Shandling. Iron Man 3.
Bruce McGill?
If I'm not mistaken, let me double check.
I think Dre might be going up the wrong tree. I think
I might be. I admit when I'm wrong. I'm just trying to double check and triple check my cast members here.
because I don't recall him being in Iron Man 3.
I'm just trying to think the house that Tony went to do the birthday party at.
That
No,
well,
no, it's Miguel Ferrer. That's who it was. He was the
yeah,
vice
that's what I
president.
think of. And rest in peace, Miguel Ferrer, who
Yeah.
once voiced Optimus Primal in Beast Wars.
Mm-hmm.
He was on NCIS LA, and of course, the executive who basically came up with the RoboCop project, but then of course gets killed by Red Foreman later on.
Red Foreman, I love that.
But yeah, I mean, Time Cop is. I mean, let's kind of give him the quick breakdown. Basically, Jean-Claude Van Damme is hired to be this. You know, he was a cop, but he's hired to be a to work with a government agency that's still doing policing, just a different type of policing. Whenever someone has their hands on in the future, whenever someone gets their hands on time travel, and they go back to make themselves rich. Like, what if you went back and gave yourself stock tips to buy Apple? What if you went and told your parents, "Hey, buy stock in Apple," or "Hey, you knew that there was a ship that was going to go down that had valuables," or you knew, in the Civil War, you went back and what if you gave machine guns to the bad guys of that war, depending on your perspective, that is, you giving them an unfair advantage and you're altering the course of history. Well, the time cops go back in time and stop those people from doing it.
And they have an odd set of rules too. Like there's it's kind of introduces the concept of a I don't want to say a multiverse, but it does introduce time travel where you don't it tries to incorporate modern day quantum physics. Like the same matter cannot
exist in the same cannot occupy the same space, meaning that if you touch yourself, then you and both versions of you will kind of cease to exist. Like you'll turn into this weird, funky, fleshy blob and then just vanish into nothingness. But
and
also,
that was terrible.
Also, it does incorporate the Back to the Future time travel. And what I mean by this is Jean-Claude Van Damme, when he travels through time, he still retains his original perception of history, his original knowledge. So he can see the differences in time that take place, just like Marty McFly did. So that's what I mean by Back to the Future rules right there. He
Well,
retains the original timeline.
here's something interesting that this series did that I liked. See, where Dave, I'm gonna hit you with some logic. The idea
Okay,
behind
Captain.
hey, Captain, my captain, I'm just gonna hit you with a little bit of logic. Marty was actually affected to the point that the timeline was catching up to him, and he was starting to lose memories as much as he had remembered. Like aspects of his life were starting to disappear. In Time Cop, that doesn't exist. That was more
But
along the
was that
lines.
canonized? I don't think that was actually canonized. I'm sure that that's probably what happens because in most time travel shows or movies or novels, usually time will eventually catch up to you. It just takes time. And well, it takes time for time to kind of catch up. It's like ripples in a pond. You throw a stone in the water, eventually those ripples will kind of catch up. It just takes time for those waves to kind of catch up to you. But I don't think that that was actually canonized. But yeah, I mean, it's
Give me 1 second.
okay, ladies and gentlemen, we'll give them 1 second. Now we're going to go over a few other things here. This was inspired by Dark Horse Comics Time Cop by Mark Verheiden and Mike Richardson. Now, Mark Verheiden, you probably will recognize that name as he's produced a lot of TV shows over the years, been involved in many different movies. Speaking of sequels, there was a Time Cop TV series, very short-lived on the ABC network from 1997 to 1998. It only aired 9 of its 13 episodes. And there was a little known Time Cop 2, The Berlin Decision in 2003. That was one of those direct to video releases that you'll probably have a hard time trying to find, or you might find it on Vudu or some other obscurity. Of course, it had a budget of $28 million, and at box office, it made its money back several times over, 101.6 million US dollars right there. Now, of course, there were a few people who were criticizing it. Rotten Tomatoes gave the film a 42% rating based on 45 reviews with an average rating of 5.2 out of 10. The site's consensus is it's no Terminator, but those willing to suspend disbelief and rational thought, Time Cop provides limited sci-fi action rewards. I have to disagree with that. Time Cop's a guilty pleasure of mine. I love it because, okay, basically you're in this little pod and it hits these insane accelerated speeds. And once it hits this arch, that's when you break the temporal barrier and you're launched into whatever time frame that you're trying to target for. Now, what I always thought was funny was you're in this vehicle, you're in this pod, zooming 1,000 miles an hour. Let's just say I don't recall what the actual speeds were, but then when you land when you land in what it's kind of the Transformers methodology. If you ever watch the cartoon Transformers, Optimus Prime would transform, and then his trailer would kind of vanish into some pocket dimension. They would say, okay, like you never saw where it actually went, but when he transformed it again, oh, there's the trailer again. That's kind of thing with their temporal pod. It vanishes until they make their return trip back. When they have this little device that they wear on their wrist or on their jacket, once they activate that device, they're pulled back into time, but then they re-arrive in the pod. So it's like the pod is like in some kind of weird
Pocket dimension. Yeah, I would say it's like Hammer Space, which for those, and I'm going to say that's an anime reference. But yeah, one of the things that I loved about the concept of this movie, and it was something that I heard Dave say, which is this movie series was actually something inspired by comic books and a TV show that was called Time Tracks. But then Looper, which came out literally decades later.
Anyone who's never seen Looper, as soon as you're done with this stream,
go watch it. It's a great movie.
Find it on digital. It's a great movie with Josh
Gordon-Levitt, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, and Bruce Willis.
And I mean, it's tremendous. It's a sci-fi time travel movie without actually kind of being one, to a sense. You know?
Yeah, a lot of people consider it more of an action movie, but Looper, the time travel element was something cool.
Yeah.
And also one of the other elements I liked about Time Cop was the aspect of using the technology of the time. So we didn't have the great CGI that we have
No, we
nowadays,
didn't. We had
obviously.
a lot of practical effects here.
So one of the cool things was to mimic the effects of like ripples in time. A lot of people that are like sci-fi fans have always used water as the effect that you're going through the pool. And that's kind of how when they would ripple through realities, they would
Really,
like, you know,
Stargate.
I'm saying like besides Stargate, I mean like which we could do a whole series on the different Stargates, which we probably should. Note to self, gotta put that in. We gotta discuss that later. But
Oh,
one of the
that'd be a whole month right there.
I know we could do a whole thing on all the Stargates. Um, but one of the cool things that the other cool thing I loved about it was that aspect was the visuals, and people really crapped on this movie a lot. Like they said that one of the saving graces for this movie was the fact that Van Damme was, really a standout actor. I mean, and he did. His wife dies. You
I
know,
will say this. This is probably I would say this as far as acting,
yeah, the acting for him was a step out.
with the exception of Bloodsport and Lionheart.
Ooh,
Okay, with the exception of those two, because those two have very strong themes to them. They have great actors in them. Uh, Lionheart because
the uncle.
he plays his uncle, and don't know if you know who the little girl was.
No, but wait, no, it was
She
the girl from
Growing
Growing
Pains,
Pains and
but also
Avengers.
she appeared in Avengers. She also is part of was that Vox Machina the on Amazon
Oh wait,
the
she's
the
not
pod-
She's not Vox
the
Machina.
yeah, that one. She's one of the voices on there, and she was also on Blind Spots.
Oh, that was that show with
Okay, so yeah,
Jamie. Oh, the girl, the
Jamie
one that played
Alexander.
Sif. Yeah, Jamie
Jamie
Alexander.
Alexander.
Sif.
Trust me, I know my Jane Doe. Trust me. Uh, but no, she's appeared on a lot of stuff. She's a great actress. She also was the original voice of Ellie from The Last of Us.
Yep.
So she's been around for a good minute. Great actress. Um, but like that's a movie where he's very emotional. He finds out his brother is dead and he wants to support the family, but the mother doesn't want him to be anywhere near the daughter or anything, and he's basically like doing just like back alley fights to raise money. He's in like fight clubs to try and raise money for that family, not for himself or anything. And I
No.
mean, there's some really good acting from Jean-Claude Van Damme in there. And Bloodsport, I mean, it's a great film, great action movie, but it's not about really like it's not anything that he's the motivation for him in Bloodsport is to bring honor to the sensei who taught him to be a better person,
Mm-hmm.
who taught him that martial arts wasn't about being the stronger person, wasn't about beating people up. The honor and the legacy behind it, which is actually based on a true story of Frank Dukes. So, but this,
Very. You're 110% like on point. That the acting for him was spot on.
yeah,
He was great, but again, there was not enough sci-fi elements
yeah,
for fans to like really like
yeah.
draw you in.
He was in this movie as Agent Walker. He's just a human being. He doesn't have special powers. It's not like he's not Batman. He doesn't have any real gadgets. The only gadget he has is the temporal recall device that's like on his vest or jacket. That's all he has.
Mm-hmm.
It's him fighting. He has a gun. And so if you look, the gun looks kind of futuristic, but we've seen those. We've seen the exact model gun repeated 1,000 times in sci-fi. But outside of that, it's just him going against a conspiracy to get this senator in the Oval Office to pay for the campaign by stealing money from the past and taking over different companies, and eventually to a point where the senator is now on the oversight committee for the Time Cop project, and he's about to dismantle it, causing all kinds of chaos, and that's where the sci-fi really gets into it. But we don't get I will say yes, fans they wanted more sci-fi. I loved it. what's better than one person against impossible odds? He has to go back in time, but he has to go back to a point in time where his other self is there. He knows the rules of time that he can't necessarily interfere in things, but also he finds that his wife is still alive. And he finds out that part of this conspiracy is what caused his wife to die in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
So, it takes on a whole life onto itself. I definitely think if anyone who's watching the stream now, if you haven't seen Time Cop, or maybe if you haven't watched it in a long time, give it another watch. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised on it. I mean, I thought the writing in the movie was really good. The supporting cast of Bruce McGill, and I forgot the actor who played the Richard, the tech nerd, who is, well, he's a bit of a perv. The guy who like runs the telemetry for the time travel. Um, I'm blanking on the actress who plays his new partner in the movie. But
Gloria Rubin.
yeah, she's best known from ER and a few other TV shows over the years. But
It's you just touching on everything you're mentioning. You said you wanted to know the name of the tech.
Tech's character's name was like Richard or something. He had Richard, but he also went by
Ricky?
a different name. Ricky. Yeah.
Okay, Scott Bellis.
Yeah. I couldn't think of his name, but like he's kind of a not really well known. He's like one of those background characters who you see a couple times.
Yeah, he was on the Dead Zone, MacGyver, and the X-Files.
There you go. Now, how would you rate this movie?
I would honestly, I wanted to make a comment about that before I give an official rating. I'm gonna say that I think aggregator sites obviously are rigged because really, like, Rotten Tomatoes has their what the critics say it is, what the fans say it is, and you can see the numbers shift greatly when they do those sorts of things. Now, what I would rate this movie, I considered it good. I mean, it did 5 times its budget.
Yeah.
And Universal Soldier was the other precursor movie that he had the lead actor role, and he co-led that with Dolph Lundgren. So
yeah, honestly, of course, Dolph Lundgren, still, I mean, he did movies, obviously, like we mentioned before, like, he's done movies like, Rocky IV, but he did a series, he did a string of like straight to video kind of action movies too. I think there was one called Red Scorpion.
Yeah,
he was a Russian soldier who was kind of like left or kind of decided to go against his commanders, and that's one that sticks out in my mind. Of course, infamously known as He-Man in Masters of the Universe.
Yeah, let's not talk about that hair, the 80s rock hair.
But I will say, just like you said last week, that Call the Conqueror was slept on. I think this one was.
I agree with you.
That's how I feel about this one. I would say I give it about, honestly, I'll say, I really want to say 4 out of 5, but I'll give it a 3 3/4.
I'm gonna give it about the same. I think the for the time the CGI was great. Yeah. Story was solid. The
effects were on point for the time, and I think they still hold up for the most part.
And I agree with what Jeff said, that this movie really focused on time travel being like the MacGuffin. It wasn't like anything else. It was like, oh, we have to use this to get through. And it was more versus like, I would rather it be the motivation to get to fix his life. But then that would be something like akin to more of, several other things.
Now, I'm just catching up on chat here.
Oh no, I'm going to tell you guys, everything I was reading in the chat was priceless. But I'm going to tell you something. One of the things I firmly believe in, and this is more like a karmic thing, is they say if you go back and affect one thing, you would have the butterfly effect.
Hey, what's up, Joe?
Hey, Joe. You would change everything about your whole life, and you would not be the person you are today. So me,
exactly.
I like everything I've done. I don't
Okay.
think I would change anything. Maybe but if I change my money, which is
And
one thing,
and
that would change everything
that's
about who
kind
I
of the
am.
grandfather paradox. Anyone who's watched any time travel movies, you might have heard the term grandfather paradox. Okay, if I go back and I kill my grandfather before my father's born, technically speaking, or before my mother's born, then I will never be born because they never have me. So how can I go back to even make those changes to begin with? I mean, if you go back and you change things, you're not going to be the same person you were, just like Dre just said. But also, once those ripples come catch up with you, how can you guarantee that you'll even go back to make those changes to begin with? And that
Exactly.
and those are Bill and Ted rules right there. You have to make sure you go back and set everything up. You know, it's
Hmm.
I mean, uh, to me, I love Time Cop. I wouldn't mind if they rebooted this.
I would love it because I would love to see the comic book because I know Dark Horse Comics is loosely around. They're like more of a
And,
Kickstarter publisher now than they were the independent comic book publisher they were in the 90s.
and
So
I'll say
it'd be
this:
really cool to see that again.
I wouldn't mind this being developed as a TV show first, like Amazon or Stars or someone develop it. And because I mean, you don't have to do 20 episodes. You can do 10 episodes, a
Oh
10
yeah,
episode season of this. That's pretty much the formula. What CBS and Paramount Plus are doing with the Star Trek series. They're doing about maybe
10,
9 or 10
15.
episodes, and that's it. And
Yeah,
you get
they're smart.
cinema quality there. You can spend more money on it. It's kind of like a mini series. I mean, they could definitely do something like that. Um, I mean, a movie would be good, but then when you see a movie, you want more of that now. Oh, like, oh, this is great. I want to see more of this. Well, now it depends on if the movie studios decide they want to go forward with it. And
Exactly.
speaking of movie studios, let's go on to our next one since we spent quite a good chunk on Time Cop.
And let me tell you, Pitch Black is this was an interesting one because I did a deep dive into every movie. But this one and the last movie we had probably some of the best morsels of things to talk about because there was so much lore. And yeah, we obviously know when you think of Pitch Black, you automatically think of Vin Diesel because for many people, this was their first exposure to him as a
He
star.
was kind of unknown at this time.
Breaking, because
Aside
let's
from
not forget,
Rounders,
Breaking,
or no,
Breaking, the breakdancing movie. That was his
okay,
very first like real movie that people got to know who he was.
Boiler Room, he was in also as well.
Yeah, Rounders, Boiler Room. I mean, I can go down the. I agree
Yeah,
with you,
yeah.
but this movie was like in it's in the review of the reaction by the audience, but this was like that. Like it hit. Like he was great. Now, when you think of Pitch Black, it's something I remember going to see in 2000. I actually remember I
And
went
it
with
had
a.
almost no advertising. By the way, there was
Oh
no
no,
no commercials, no trailers. I was working for General Cinema movie theaters at the time. I used to have the poster. The poster you see on the screen right here, "Fight Evil with Evil." I mean, that was just an insane concept. Like, instead of having a hero, no, you're. This was like a true anti-hero. Richard B. Riddick. He's a prisoner being transported on this spaceship, and everyone else is in suspended sleep. And then some micro meteorites strike the ship, basically acting like shotgun shells, taking out the captain, taking out a whole bunch of other people. They crash land on this planet. But I mean, nobody really knew Vin Diesel. I mean, aside from those other movies, I mean, this is like his first. He's really the star of the show. But I mean, it's you get some B or C sci-fi actors in here. Claudia Black from Farscape, and of course the final season of Stargate SG-1.
hmm,
She's the great actress. She's in there as kind of almost a semi-background character. Of course, Keith David. I mean, come on.
the voice of Spawn, the
All,
voice of Goliath.
all you have to say is Keith David, and I'm down for it. I mean, in my opinion, he's one half of one of the greatest fight sequences of all time from They Live. Of course, the other being Roddy Piper.
See, he goes back that far. I think of just the voice of Spawn on HBO
Yeah,
in
he
the
in the
animated
HBO series way
series.
back when, if you can get your hands on a copy, he's fantastic. But he can also be very comical too.
Oh yeah, he also was. If you guys
Men at
didn't
Work
know,
with Emilio Estevez and Charlie Sheen.
hey,
Hey, what's up,
hola.
Ruben?
So there was also something more interesting that I came across with Keith David as well. Like a lot of people, like Dave's going down his little gamut of like things that he was in. Keith David was doing a lot of stuff big, but people slept on Rada Mitchell. Rada Mitchell, our young blonde, you know,
Yes,
the third in command on the ship. She
yes.
actually goes on to become a very big part of a franchise later known as Silent Hill.
Mm-hmm.
And if you guys never saw Silent Hill, oh my goodness, or played the plethora of Silent Hill games, which are all
Jeff,
but
how could we forget Street Sharks? We can't.
oh no, you can't forget that. But I mean, this is like for a teaser, Cole Hauser, another
Mm-hmm.
no like considered like nobody actor.
Brother to Wings Hauser.
And guess what? Cole Hauser ends up showing up in a Vin Diesel franchise, folks. A movie Vin Diesel's not even in. The Fast and Furious 2.
Tokyo Drift.
No, not Tokyo Drift. That was 3.
Oh, Too Fast, Too Furious.
Too Fast, Too Furious. He was the drug lord that was dating Ava Mendes.
Can't fault him for that, man.
I mean, no, she was great. she's hot. So this one was more interesting for me also because when I try to, as a historian and like kind of a statistician, I look at things by the numbers as well.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the numbers that came up was their budget, and their budget was not. They said it was a meager $25 or $23 million budget, right?
Yes.
Now I'm like, okay, $23 million. We say meager, but 23 million. That's still a lot of money.
Yes.
Now the CGI was not great in this movie, but it was like Jeff said, it's
the
great.
The sons that they because long story short, the ship not everybody on the ship even survives because you have like 6 or 7 people who crash land who actually survived the crashing of the planet.
And only 3 people
Crashing to the
survive.
planet. Huh?
And only
No,
3
I meant
people survive it.
the initial crashing.
Oh, yeah.
Listen, Dre, listen. The initial crashing. And they find that, there's 3 suns on this planet. They're like, oh, geez, there's going to be no nights. But they were like overly bright. And I mean, you would have thought that they took they took a lot of inspiration from future J.J. Abrams because there was a lot of lens flare going on. A lot of color filtering. That's one thing that happens. But what's very inspired about Vin Diesel's character, he is a murderer being transported not by a marshal or anything, but by a mercenary.
But he pretends to be. Yeah, that's the thing that Hauser did.
He gives the illusion that he doesn't. He never said that he wasn't a policeman. He had a badge. He looked all official tissue. So they rolled with it. It turns out that not only is he a merc, he's a mercenary transporting Riddick to a slam, aka prison. They kind of in the Riddick universe, there's a lot of slang that is developed strictly for this. But Riddick has a very unique ability. His eyes are kind of they use the term shined up. That he wears these goggles all the time because light in general is just too bright for him because when he takes his goggles off, he can see perfectly in darkness. That's kind of his little
superpower.
Ability. But he's a stone cold killer. Having to be someone who's been in several different prisons, he needed to watch his back so he could see if someone's sneaking up behind him in the dark.
Now, as a lore junkie that I am, I love lore. And for those of you that don't know, Vin Diesel is also a huge D&D fan. Yes. And as the D&D fan that he is, he created this character in this lore-ridden kind of universe where we try to figure out the backstory about Furia, because he's a race known as the Furians. Now, the Furians are a race of kind of augmented soldiers, and I don't want to say augmented, they're just genetically created, like kind of like, you know,
Augments.
I don't
Yeah.
want to say no, I don't want to say augments, because augments would mean that somebody tampered with their DNA. They're a race of people, of beings, similar to like how the Wookiees are Wookiees, and they have like that rage, that strength. You know, Furians are much like that. They're a warrior culture, and they pride their strength and their pride in their combat skills.
Okay. Just say it. They're Saiyans without the powers.
I didn't want to say that, but it's kind of like
Because
that.
it's because Furians, I mean, they're born, and we're not trying to be gross or anything or scary, but they are often born with the cords around their neck. These, the actual, umbilical cord, they're born with them. Every Furian pretty much has them tied around their neck. It's almost like it's something that is naturally happens to make them even stronger, because they have to have a strong will to actually survive that when they're born. And we're getting ahead of ourselves, but in a sequel to this movie, there is talk about Furian energy. So obviously he appears human, but like it said that he's a Furian, and we don't hear this in this movie. We hear it in the sequels, obviously.
Well,
But
and we got to pause there too, because remember, we got to go further deeper than this, because
Mhm.
this movie, Pitch Black, like Dave calls it, Riddick 1, which I absolutely love that he named it that. Hands down to my dude. Love you, brother. That was great. The idea that in Chronicles of Riddick, which was the sequel, which took many years to make,
Yes.
Riddick 2, or the Chronicles of Riddick, then gets a Dark Fury animated
Yeah.
movie. Then there are
And it's on point, by the way, guys. If you love anime, you definitely need to check it out.
It's Vin Diesel had his hands all over it.
Yeah.
Then there was what? There was the 3 video games, the iOS game that came out.
Butcher Bay.
Then there's the Butcher Bay for Xbox, and
Yes.
the Chronicles of Riddick Dark Fury game that came out for PlayStation and Xbox. All those games tie into, and Vin Diesel's game studio actually co-created those games to give you the backlore of Furia and the Furians. So much like Jeff said, it's like, think of Kryptonians that are bred, because Kryptonians are bred for jobs. If you guys saw the Krypton, the TV show, they
yes,
did that.
I love that show.
So sad that they're never going to do another season. It deserves it, but it's very much they're bred to fight, and that's exactly how Furians are. And yeah, we are getting ahead of ourselves because there's so much lore, and I can keep going down the whole thing. But when you steer back to the concept, it's tied deeply into, like Dave said, a lot. And he said this to me backstage, so I'm going to tie back to what he said to me backstage now. The idea of modern culture. Like, there's a lot of slang and modern isms, even though this is a future setting with the religion. There are people making a trip to New Mecca to go make a pilgrimage. Now, obviously, everybody knows within whatever faith you are, whatever denomination you are, there are some sorts of pilgrimages or trips you take as a spiritual.
A lot of people just use the term Mecca. I'm going to, for me as a Ghostbuster, I go to New York City. I have to visit the Ghostbusters Mecca, which is the firehouse. Mecca is kind of generalized, but yeah, there's that. I mentioned to Dre how at one point Vin Diesel as Riddick is telling this one holy man played by brilliantly played by Keith David, and he does an accent and everything perfectly. The guy has never had a bad role, but he tells him, he says, listen, about because there's a conversation about Riddick not believing in God. And he says, no, you're getting it wrong. I do believe, as someone who was born with the cord around his neck outside a liquor store dumpster, though that's actually what he says. He says, I believe in God. I just don't, what was it? I think he says something to the extent
he doesn't believe in me.
He doesn't believe in me. And
that's powerful.
It's an intense scene, but they make a lot of references. I mean, the Merc is even he's shooting up morphine.
In the eye.
yeah, right in the eye. He's shooting up morphine. You think they would come up with like some kind of like weird, funky future name of some drug, but no, they're morphine. So I mean, it's there's a lot of references, and in the other movies, there's a reference to another name for a brothel. Let's just say, so they make references to to modern stuff to kind of like I don't know, kind of give you a little bit more like I don't want to say callbacks or Easter eggs, but almost like kind of like make you think like okay, even though humanity's several hundred years or even thousands of years in the future, we're still essentially the same people we are now.
And
That's
that's
what I was
that's
getting at.
that's very telling, which I love a story that digs deep like that, that kind of touches on something. In that I always, as a teacher, we're told that you have to connect with your students and that you have to find something that kids will buy into. And as an adult, we buy into things that we feel we can connect with. And if you can give a connection that is that believable to something that's wow, like it's still like Dave said, it's in the future, but like look at this connection. They still got 7-Eleven. They still have all this. Like what the hell? Like that kind of
Basically,
and I know I'm making it sound very trivial, but that's very, very telling that it's a very good writer to get on there and do that. Now, again, the numbers don't lie. $23 million and it's only doubles its budget. Again, Dave
yeah.
said it best, and I didn't work in a movie theater. I actually went on a very bad first date, and it was the last date that I went on because I had to walk home from the movie theater, which was
Like the poster
annoying.
says, you got to fight evil with evil.
Yeah, I had to fight evil with evil and had to walk home. Buses stopped running and everything. It was terrible. But the whole concept was that, I remember going to the theater because the girl I was like, hey, what movie you want to go see? She was like, I don't know, you'll go pick it. And then I was like, I went to go buy tickets. I was like, oh, Pitch Black sounds cool.
Yeah.
I was like,
I mean, take a look at that poster. I guarantee you've never seen a poster like that. I mean, it's monochromatic. It's black. It's gray. It a little bit of white in there, and that's all it was. And the tagline of "Fight evil with evil." You don't really see any other faces there. You just see like because this what you see on the poster is the vision. Now, when they get to this, long story short, even though there's 3 suns on this planet, suddenly there's now a solar eclipse where all the suns are completely gone. They're completely blacked out, aka pitch black. But we find out that there are these carnivorous, predatory creatures out there that could possibly give a xenomorph a run for its money, maybe just slightly, just slightly. I mean, these things they see in the dark, and the poster, that's what they see when they see one of us. They don't have eyes. They use echolocation basically, where they're using sound waves. They're screeches, and when the screech hits something and echoes back, that's how they identify things. So
similar to
they
bats.
exactly echolocation is what it's called. But and these humans, their ship is completely it's totaled. It's not even a hoopty. Okay, it is completely trashed. But they find the settlement that's completely abandoned, or so they think, and they find a small craft. They figure, hey, maybe we can take the power cells from our ship and put it into this one. But right around the time they do that, that's when the eclipse happens. So now they're on a clock, and the Merc frees Riddick on one condition: that he works with them. He wants to use him like a mule, but plans to kill Riddick. It doesn't happen because just like all bad guys who are total pricks, he gets his, not via Riddick, but through kind of through via Riddick. But now they're on a race against the clock, and Riddick is kind of like he's the anti-hero. He's like, well, there's only going to be one speed. He's like, you have to do. He even tells the captain, Rada, he tells her, he basically is kind of hinting towards her that he tells her the truth about Johns, who's the Merc, about how he's a morphine addict and he's not even a cop, he's a Merc. And she finds this out, and, everyone's eyes are kind of opening up about him, and she's kind of trusting Riddick a little bit, who's a convicted murderer, more so than him at times.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like, you could be in a monster movie, you can have the worst monsters ever, but people are the ones you have to watch out for sometimes.
And that was a
That's
good
what I was
story
digging
of
on it.
and that's a good story of survival. It's like you're hitting on it right there, Dave. It's this concept of what's worse, surviving against the night, which we all know, being in the darkness, total darkness,
Yes.
not where you have a little bit of light,
Pitch
no
black.
light, pitch black, where you are where you're,
He said it. He said it.
because we all know in the 90s, one of the tropes in the 80s and 90s was that you had to say the name of the title of the movie in the movie.
Yep.
So
That's where the
yeah,
Family Guy reference comes from.
exactly. So this survival, and it's like dealing with the human element of it. I think overall, it was a great pop culture movie that blew up Vin Diesel and really
Yeah.
skyrocketed him to the stellar fame that he's done, that he is the actor he is today out of
I mean,
this.
you would probably get some actor playing this character, and he'd have to try and do a different voice. Vin Diesel is just Vin Diesel. You know, the shaved head when he still was growing hair on the top of his head, not so much anymore. But but I mean, that was him. Like, he wasn't like an overtly built up guy like he is kind of now. You know, he had more of an average figure. Well, I don't want to say average, but he was
No,
athletic.
he was athletically built. He
Yeah,
was he was he was a dancer because he did a
yeah,
lot of like street dancing, and he wasn't like
yeah.
Batista where he was a bouncer and like worked out
I
like
mean, you look
like a
at movies
bodybuilder.
that he's in now. Yeah, he's a little bit like thicker in the neck and in the body, but it was just like he wasn't. And also, the way he portrayed Richard B. Riddick, and this is the only movie in this series that refers to him as Richard B. In the
So
other
again,
movies, he's just Riddick,
and that's a very common name. When you think Richard, I
Richard
hate
B.
to like
Yeah,
Richard B. Riddick. Like that doesn't sound very
It's like
alien.
Peter B. Parker. Just saying.
So, what would you rate this one?
Pitch Black. I mean, I've seen this 1,000 times. Mind you, I worked at the movie theater when it came out, and by the way, people's reactions were they were loving it.
Oh
They
yeah,
loved it. It was something that they hadn't seen before. You know, it's like, well, you have to rely on the convicted killer, the guy who can kill you 1,000 times over. Your life is in his hands now. By
good
the way,
luck.
honestly, nobody really, not a lot of people make it through to the end. Let's be honest. But it had a consistent sci-fi element to it, contrary to Time Cop, as a lot of people were. But I mean, like, the thing is, this had no promotion. I think the only advertisements I might have seen was on the Sci-Fi Channel.
I
But
didn't see any. I
yeah,
I honestly remember literally just walking into the theater, seeing the poster where it said now
and
showing, and
I wish I still had it. I had that poster.
I didn't have that poster. My cousin did
I
though. He
just
worked at
I'm
a
like
movie theater and
I
got
just
it.
felt like the concept fight evil with evil. I just love that. Um, and we're not going to get into the other, the sequels of the movie, but I mean, this is a good movie. I mean, if you want kind of like a scare, but you want action with it, this is a movie you will not see coming. Okay, it starts out one way, and it just there's a lot of twists and turns in here. Some people, you think you know who they are, they're not who they actually are, and that's all I'm going to say about that.
And obviously, with me, I would say I don't even know what I would consider rating it. It's a good movie, but I will mention that 4 times since Chronicles of Riddick, there have been social media comments from Vin Diesel about the last movie in this series, because supposedly there is going to be a fourth and final movie which is called Riddick Furia, and that is going to be, it's like Dave and I were talking about this backstage before. It's kind of
Hmm.
in developmental hell. They did say that on it
Yeah,
was
because it's what David
yeah.
Toy, or however you pronounce his name. The director of this is actually the writing partner with Vin Diesel for the other movies,
Mhm.
the writing and
So
producing partner. So I mean, they have been together on all these projects, but it's like, okay. Also, Vin Diesel has been heavily with the Fast and Furious movies. I mean, we loved him in Triple X, and then it took him how many years to come back to the Triple X franchise? He did Witch Hunter. Obviously, like Dre said, he's into D&D, he's into fantasy stuff, and I mean, sci-fi definitely opens up that element. And I mean, come on, to a certain extent, let's face it, Fast and Furious. I mean, come on, you're driving a Fiero in space through a damn satellite. That's all I gotta say. Um, and besides, we thought that this last Fast and Furious movie was going to be the last one, and now apparently this is the first of a trilogy. Who knows?
No, it's the first of it's two parts. It's this one, and then we have
Okay, maybe I'm mistaken then. But I mean,
yeah.
who knows? Furia could be two movies. I would love to have that.
So
You know,
that's where
I,
I've heard it.
I would love what I would love to see is he finds Furia and eventually finds other Furians, and then it's him and the Furians versus the Necromongers for winner takes all for the fate of the universe.
That would be a very cool movie.
Because I'll put it this way, guys. We talked about Conan the Barbarian in that whole universe last week. Vin Diesel and Riddick is future Conan. That's all I'm going to say. He's future Conan if you think about it.
It's not. That's not a bad comparison. I'm with it. I will agree 100% with that.
Because Riddick was, he didn't exactly have a choice in his life. He was kind of forced into, because he was just this lone Furian, left to whatever. Comes across this is a bad universe where anything can happen, and that's kind of the life he led because he had those, the fury in him, so to speak. He had those tendencies, and without a way to channel it or anyone to guide him, he's going to go down different roads, and those roads led him to being a killer. But so is Conan the Barbarian. He was a gladiator, taking out people left and right. So, very strong comparison. But we're running out of time, so let's jump on the last movie,
which obviously is the best and probably one of my all-time. It's definitely in my all-time favorites. Aliens.
I mean, if you want a textbook on a thriller, on being sci-fi, being an action movie, I think you can't go any further than Aliens. I mean, James Cameron wrote this, he directed it, and contrary to any current Marvel Universe actress, this is one of our earliest action heroes.
Oh, pop quiz hotshot. Just a little bit of fun fact here. Sigourney Weaver, 1987, was nominated for the Best Actress, not supporting, Best Actress for this movie. And this was the first time sci-fi was ever considered inside of the Best Actor genre. Or the category.
I remember watching this at the drive-in as a kid. My dad would take us to drive-ins, and we would, we had one of those old Oldsmobile station wagons where the tailgate kind of flopped down. We would watch the movies. I remember seeing this, and back then, so seeing it on a big, massive screen. I mean, this is one of those movies. If you have a local theater house, or you have it's summertime, you have a local drive-in, and they're going to show some 80s movies. If they have Aliens, you have to go see it. I mean, this was, if you haven't seen, Aliens is a sequel. It's not a part one. This is a part two, so to speak. I'm not going to touch base on Prometheus, even though that and Covenant takes place in different points earlier in the mythology, but we're not going to go there. Sigourney Weaver, she plays Ellen Ripley. Wasn't she a lieutenant?
She was a ship commander. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
She was lieutenant. She had the rank of lieutenant.
She was Lieutenant Ripley. Now she was the lone survivor of the
Nostromo.
From the first movie. She because they travel in the hypersleep, and she basically, the entire ship got destroyed except for this one little, like, I get not really like an escape ship, but kind of was. And she finally drifts, and she's found, like, what is it, like centuries later, like 80 or more,
57 years later.
57 years
from
later.
Alien to Aliens, it was 57 years.
And she's taken to the company because they're, in space, everything's run by different big companies, not governments, but companies. kind of almost like how it is now, uh,
Blade Runner.
basically. And what happens is Paul Reiser, yes, from Mad About You and a few, a bunch of other movies. You've seen him in stuff all over the place. He plays this guy, was a Burke, I think his name was,
I
and
forgot.
he talks. He says, well, the company, they pulled your ticket, meaning she can't be a pilot, she can't serve on any ships or anything. So he says, well, we can get that ticket restored if you help us. Okay, that planet that that your ship surveyed all those years ago. Well, we kind of lost contact, and we want you to go on a mission. It was more of a technical survivor, a technical advisor, so to speak. And she really doesn't want to, but she reluctantly agrees. And they have a group of Marines. Now, among those Marines is Michael Bain, Bill Paxton. I mean, we're talking about the James Cameron heavy hitters here, okay?
Oh, yeah, he brought everybody in on this one.
Yeah, and I mean, people still cosplay the actual Marines to this very day. There's been several different movies, Colonial Marines. I mean, the Alien Rapid Fire. Um, I mean, it's long story short. She goes with them to this planet, which is now supposedly being terraformed and has a colony there. And she's like, "What?" She's literally like you people are you're so stupid. And she's just like, she's just blown away by just the sheer stupidity and greed by this company, because apparently they never found any traces of alien life. Well, just because you can't find something, you can't see something, doesn't mean it's not there. You can't see air and it's there. I'm just saying. So she goes with them.
Just think back to what David said in Prometheus. Every big thing has small beginnings.
Why do we have to have the name David everywhere? I'm just saying.
That's another trope. That's another trope.
Okay, Dave.
I can't let you do that, Dave.
But she goes with them, and finally they find out that all the colonists are missing. Well, they're not exactly missing; they're dead. And we have tons of xenomorphs all over the damn place. These are big, almost. Imagine what would be the best way to think of a scorpion and a T-Rex merged into one organism. That's kind of like the xenomorphs. They spit acid. They attack you. They lay eggs in you so that their progeny can grow and just take over. They are unrelenting, and the Marines are in over their heads. They got tons of big weapons, but everyone is in over their heads. Ripley, I mean, she finds a lone survivor, Newt, a little girl named Newt, and she's trying to protect her. Her motherly instincts are kicking in. And at one point, Hicks and everyone, almost everyone's pretty much gone for the most part. And she gets respect from a lot of them because she's on a power loader. Hold on. Let me go big for 1 second. She's got her little power loader right here. Okay.
Q-Fig. Nice.
Yep. She's got her little power loader. She's loading stuff left and right. And, even the sarge in charge of them is like, what was it? Bay 12, please. He's trying to hold back, laughing his butt off. And, but by this time, she's battled the xenomorph, so she kind of knows what she's talking about. She's trying to tell them, but it's all too late for them. I think was it Hicks?
Yes.
Hicks is like the only one who really makes it through, but he's knocked out. He's in bad shape. But at one point she takes a flamethrower, she takes a machine gun, she duct tapes them together. She's gonna be ready for anything that's coming her way. And she's trying to protect Newt. She's trying to help out Hicks, who's kind of like her little booty call, almost. It's to me, it just blows you away because imagine one, you have this kind of like survivor's guilt, or this PST how do you say it?
PTSD.
PTSD. I can't even say it. And she's got all this, but then she's finding strength to take on these bad guys again to try to survive, and she does. It's an amazing story. I mean, and by the way, if you guys ever saw um, Avengers Endgame, or not, Avengers Infinity War, was it Infinity War? Yeah, where Peter Parker makes a reference. Hey, have you ever seen this really old movie called Aliens?
Yeah.
It's the scene that he talks about that happens here. I mean, it's a pop culture movie. I think it definitely sets the tone. I mean, we've had female action heroes. I mean, Linda Hamilton, Terminator, Brigitte Nielsen, Red Sonja. I mean, we've had oh god, how am I blanking on her name? Cynthia Rothrock. There's so many
Oh
different women
God.
who've been in action movies, and because I'm not gonna say the name of the MCU actress who considers herself the first real action hero. Please, same goes for Michelle Rodriguez. They both need to take a pill and just relax, because Linda Hamilton, Sigourney Weaver. I mean, hell, even Grace Jones.
Grace Jones, dude. You can go down the. There's
I mean,
more people too.
yeah, there's so many women who are action heroes. But I mean, this is a textbook. I mean, if Aliens should be taught in a film class, I'm sure it has, because you have the writing of James Cameron, directed by James Cameron. Okay. He brought in Sigourney Weaver, who, I mean, before Aliens, I mean, she was in the first Alien and Aliens, of course, but I mean, like, she's known for obviously Ghostbusters 1 and 2. She was in I'm trying to think, what was the movie she co-starred with Mel Gibson in.
Oh
Um
Jesus, I don't know her. Oh, I don't know her filmography that well.
um I can't think of it, but she was in there with Linda Hunt. It was like a journalist around the Vietnam War, kind of a story. I mean, she's been in so many different movies. Working Girl. Um, I mean,
Galaxy Quest.
she also does a lot of camp stuff, like Vamps with Alicia Silverstone. No, was it Alicia Silverstone?
No, she
Yeah.
did that. She did the movie with Lacey Chabert.
No, I know what you're talking about, but this is another movie with Alicia Silverstone and my girl who plays Jessica Jones. You know who I'm talking about? Dark hair,
Yes, I'm just
olive
trying to.
skin. You know who I'm talking about?
Yes,
They
yes.
they're two vampires who are just trying to live in New York City, and they're the vampire who made them is actually Sigourney Weaver.
Yeah,
It's a
Vamp.
comedy. It's a horror comedy. You got to check it out. It's called Vamps.
Yeah, Kristen Ritter.
Kristen Ritter, yes. Oh, God. Still got a crush on her.
Malcolm freaking McDowell is in that movie.
Yeah,
Another sci-fi
yeah,
legend.
yeah. But I mean, it's Aliens is just it's nonstop action. Sigourney Weaver pulls off dealing with real trauma, real fear. Like she's I'm not trying to be profane, but she's like, listen, you son of a bitch. She's trying to say, what is your fucking problem? What are you doing? Why would you build a colony there? You know, she's trying to get through to them, like, hey, why would you do this? This happened, this happened, this happened. She deals with so much emotion. Again, she's finding herself pretty much getting down to being the last survivor of another failed expedition. But this guy, one of the Marines who was nice to her, and obviously they're developing connection, Hicks, Michael Bean. And then she finds this little girl who has lost everything, and she wants to do everything she can to make sure that this little girl will survive. I mean, it deals with a lot of emotion. It's great writing. It's great action. It's not that cheesy stuff. Although Bill Paxton, is
Game
pretty
over,
damn hilarious.
man.
We're all gonna die, man.
It's
I mean,
game over, man.
Bill Paxton was great at just just overly camping it up, you know.
And he did a great job in the movie. It's one of those, like, again, pop culture meme-tastic movies that has permeated the fabric of what we know as pop culture. Like,
And
again,
there's
Brie
so many other
Larson,
movies too. I mean,
like Brie
I
Larson, the fact that she comes out and makes that comment about being the action hero,
I
you
didn't
know,
say the name. I
I,
didn't say the name.
he did not did. And if Brie Larson, you have an issue with me, my wife loves you, so you can be mad at me, but don't be mad at my wife, because I still bought your figures and I've gone to see your movies.
Are you going to buy the new one?
Yes, I am. That's a
Okay.
whole different conversation. But
It's a great
I will
likeness,
be.
by the way. It looks like a great likeness, but
It's the damn good likeness. But I'm gonna say this: there were other people that were predecessors for you. That'd be like younger actors now saying that Schwarzenegger, Stallone, Van Damme, Clint Eastwood, Lundgren
Kathleen
were,
Turner.
were not the predecessors to them.
Yes.
So just like look at the guys like Michael B. Jordan not giving an homage and a nod to Sylvester Stallone. That's
Yeah.
that you can't look at Jason Bourne and have him not look at like guys like Timothy Dalton, Roger Moore, Sean Connery, and
It
say
looks
that
like our chat is running a little slow behind, so I'm going to pull. I'm looking at what we have in our YouTube chat here. We got Vern Oker Studios, Millennium Workshop popping in the chat here. I need to make one
cool.
of those. Talking about the little figure I have here. But Vern says Elizabeth Shue Adventures in Babysitting took on Thor. In a way,
Well, I mean, but then you got to look at there was other actresses like Terry Farrell. I mean, there's so many
no relation,
people,
but man, ooh baby.
you know. But I know exactly. But you realize you start making those
I think that
realizations
was
that like
Hellraiser 3, in fact.
yeah, that's what we were talking about. Recently, you and I talked about that. But it's just the overarching thing that
Yeah,
we've mentioned here, folks. That there were several women that were like, and Dave and I made a comment about this last week when we talked about Brigitte Nielsen, and Hollywood did not look at women, and Universal Studios was very much against this movie being made. It took so
yeah.
long to get a sequel because nobody saw a woman taking the
I mean,
lead.
even though Terminator was what 1984, I think,
Yep.
first Terminator movie. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, she wasn't doing a whole lot of fighting in that movie, but it was still an action movie. Linda Hamilton.
But she was also,
You
it
know,
was more of I think that Linda Hamilton's role was very big because of the fact that she was being hunted and stalked.
yes.
And it was such a great, like,
And
she didn't need to,
sadly, back then, movies like equality in movies still was not a thing. I mean, not just for women, but races in general. I mean, let's face it. I mean, who is our first? Aside from black exploitation movies of the '70s, outside of that, who was really our first real black action hero? Our boy Action Jackson.
Carl Weathers.
Okay, who of course Predator. But we didn't really see a whole lot of that. People of different races really weren't really given shots, whether it was races or sex. It was, that was a really sad thing. But Sigourney Weaver proved it. Like, listen, I can take on, I don't care who you are, I'll take you on. And she did. And
And did a damn good job.
she also poked fun at herself. And Millennium Workshop posted he loved Galaxy Quest. And that's a
Oh,
movie
I
she poked fun at herself in. Tim
love,
Allen, Tony
love
Shalhoub. I mean, Chill Mitchell. So many great people in that movie. And
Alan Rickman.
the late Alec Rickman. Yeah.
I love T3 says that this is a deep dive into sci-fi. This feels it's like it's been because
Listen,
honestly
every week
we're
is a
pulling the
deep
classics.
dive. I
Yeah,
mean,
because
Dre wants to do like 5 movies a week. I'm like, well,
no,
we can't do it in an hour.
I think we're gonna have to cut back to 2 because of the amount of deep dive that we put into these, and the
Yeah.
fact that there's so much lore. Gina Davis, another
Yes,
yeah,
with Sam Jackson and Long Kiss Goodnight. Exactly, Oakhurst.
so there
That's Vern
are
from Oakhurst Studios.
so there's a lot that we, need these actors to look at now. But moving forward, 110%, I think that you know, this movie for me is a 5 out of 5. I can watch this movie anytime,
This is a
any
movie you can
place.
watch over and over again. For me, it hits me personally on this on nostalgia because I watched it as a kid.
Oh, I
I
did too,
remember
and it
I
scared the
remember
crap
seeing
out of me.
Predator on the big screen. I remember seeing Commando at the drive, and I remember watching American Ninja.
Oh God, Michael
Okay,
Dudikoff. We got
Michael Dudikoff. Yes, yes.
we have to do a whole thing. We talked
Okay,
about this, folks. We are going to do a Michael Dudikoff, Jeff
but
Speakman. We're going to dig into those. The we're going to definitely deep dive into them.
I mean,
And
like for me, it's definitely a 5. It's definitely a 5 out of 5. I mean, Sigourney Weaver is just amazing as an actress. I mean, she kills it in every movie that she's in. She commits 100%, whether it's something cheesy, something comical. I mean, as the straight person in Ghostbusters 1 and 2, she commits completely. I mean, she's done like Melanie Griffith, opposite Melanie Griffith in Working Girl. She even played, what was it, Gorillas in the Mist,
that was
another
and that's
80s
based
movie.
and that's based on a real thing. So wait, hold
Yeah,
on. Let's take a quick look at where
Jane Goodall.
I'm looking at right now the chat, and Carl T3 has said, "You guys were going to talk film. We could talk film." He's like, "Showdown in Little Tokyo."
Yes,
We've already
we
mentioned
mentioned
this.
that a week ago.
Actually, we mentioned it this week too, briefly when we
Yes,
talked about Dolph Lundgren. So
yeah, because
yeah,
Dolph Lundgren, Tia Carrere, and of course Brandon Lee
the
and
late
Tia
great Brandon
Carrere
Lee.
in that hot tub. I'm just saying.
Brandon Lee got no buns that movie. He
Rapid
had no,
Fire with Brandon Lee in it,
yeah,
and I
Rapid
think
Fire.
and I think that actually featured Powers.
Powers
Was it
Booth.
Powers Booth?
Powers Booth was the villain.
Yep.
Another great 80s, 90s villain actor.
Yep. I mean, we can do entire months of
Hey,
80s action movies. Just saying.
Jeff, we had to hide your comment because I read it. You cannot say things like that, dude. The
What did he
algorithm
say?
doesn't. He didn't say anything bad. He did like that she was Sigourney Weaver's character, or Jane Goodall, was having relations of an inappropriate nature with
I
the.
didn't even see that in the chat. So
I had to hide it. I love
okay.
you, Jeff. I love you, Jeff, but we can't have you say those things on the thing. It looks bad. Sorry.
Yeah, there are certain terms the algorithm does not like. Just like when we had that worldwide thing going on, a lot of YouTubers were using the code of Backstreet Boy Reunion Tour instead of saying "you know what" that begins with the letter C and
Heck, I
ends
gotta
with the
even
letter
watch when
D.
I have to watch when I curse now too, because if I curse too much, we can't get monetized,
In the
which
beginning,
sucks.
and well, if we do it in the beginning of the video or stream, it flags. Now, if you let it out once or twice, you're okay there.
No, Jeff. That's the other movie you would see on that special YouTube channel that's not YouTube, that deals in those sorts of things, and it's not Jane Goodall, it's Jane Goofall. You might I might have to just message you that later. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge, just so you can laugh. And we appreciate you, though,
Not
brother.
that he watches that kind of content.
You know, wow. See, T3's going with like some odd things, like
Oh,
Johnny
Johnny
Mnemonic.
Mnemonic. Okay.
Johnny Mnemonic was a good movie, and that was,
I mean, you know what though? If we talk about Johnny Mnemonic, okay, since that was a cyber movie, I mean, if we did like an elongated episode with 3 movies along that same vein, my choice would be Johnny Mnemonic, Lawnmower
Memento.
Man,
Memento.
Hackers.
Hackers was good, but again, Hackers would be that weird sleeper hit.
Yeah. Pitch
Because
Black.
Hackers was the the sleeper hit.
And so many. Well, yeah, Vern. That's definitely going to be a future episode.
Oh yeah, we've already talked about that.
Strange Days is a good one. Strange Days is kind of that vein of Johnny Mnemonic, I would have to say.
Yeah,
And
Blade Runner.
Virtuosity.
All right, we've talked about this, Dave and I. We would love to do a Blade Runner comparison, and I have to just all I have to do is watch the animated series on Netflix because that's the only thing I've missed on. 'Cause I've
Yeah,
seen.
Hackers was ahead of its time
Oh, it
because
definitely was. It was
it
great.
introduced us to Angelina Jolie. Well, she appeared in one or two other things before that, but Angelina Jolie.
Wait, let's not forget Swordfish. That's another hacker movie,
Yeah, but they came out years later though.
and that's what Hallaberry. Yeah,
Halabai. Yeah, but
Hallaberry.
there was a lot of gossip going on at the time that they thought her and Hugh Jackman because they appeared in X-Men together.
X-Men.
So
Yeah, there was
but
a lot of
that,
talk.
that was never a thing.
So wait, since we have a fair amount of you guys here in the chat, we actually have some episodes lined up, but we are willing to shift things around. What are you guys interested in? Because we're hearing a lot of deep dive into other movies. Would you guys like to see something like that you're talking about now next week? Because we're willing to shift our episodes down if there's something more prevalent you guys want to talk about. So if you guys want us to do something like the Johnny Mnemonic, Strange Days,
Because
Lawnmower Man,
we have some conspiracy we have a conspiracy episode with conspiracy movies coming up. We have an episode called Summer of Demons, so we're going to be dealing with some demon like movies, and we also have kind of the dark comics, let's just say, featuring Punisher and a version of Nick Fury. But
I can't wait.
If
For
you
that.
guys want something like something switched around, we can always delay those to a later point in time. Conspiracy Millennium says conspiracy theories. I'm all in.
Oh no, that's one I'm all in on too. I'm so excited to do that episode.
Yeah,
With Dave.
that's going to be our next one, our next week's episode with featuring True Lies, The Crazies, and one of my favorites of all time, They Live.
Let's talk about the moon
Bert wants
landing.
to talk about the moon landing.
We get a deep dive into those three movies because they're all conspiracies in and of themselves. But I mean, imagine doing like a deep dive into I don't know the Truman. If we were that kind of channel, like the Truman Show, that's a conspiracy theory movie where you raise a kid on a set and they don't know anything different than life and television. I mean,
Yeah,
that's
but
almost
also, at the time it was like people were blown away, like, oh, that, like, how could anything like that happen? And look, nowadays, that literally could have happened. I mean, with everything nowadays with reality TV, I mean, it's just don't make anything into reality TV. I mean, what they got a show with celebrities now that are going to have to train and prepare
on
to do like
Mars.
mission on Mars, and it's hosted by William Shatner.
So pause 1 second. I want to just kind of address the chat. So we are right now. I'm gonna adjust. Jeff, we're doing the modern crazies. That was the Timothy Oliphant movie with Radha Mitchell. That's the one we're gonna talk about. T3. We don't want to just do new series. We pick a topic. We make a topic and then we find movies from those eras and we discuss it. So things like we don't usually pick something from like action, horror, and sci-fi all together. Sometimes we stick within just the one genre. But if they're like, again, I do appreciate the ideas because we're doing several. We're doing several of these things right now. An AI. Curse. That's a good one, Dave. I didn't even think about doing that.
Artificial
Artificial
intelligence.
intelligence. Let me
I
take
mean,
notes on that one.
that should be one episode by itself, because
Space Odyssey.
Our shows are supposed to be 1 hour long. We of course went over because we spent about 20 to 30 minutes on each one. So Carlos says, yeah, that's what I meant. A topic on each genre from those eras, definitely.
All right, so I like that artificial intelligence episode.
Yeah, I mean, you could do we could do like you could actually do the artificial intelligence movie if you really wanted to with Steven Spielberg, and then also I'd have to think like 2001 would be a good one.
Curse. We are doing. Dave and I have everything mapped up until about the 5th of July.
Oh,
That
by the way, Oakhurst, if we're doing history of martial arts, like and the different styles, one movie I will put my vote in for is Only the Strong.
that's capoeira.
Yes,
Paranaway, Paranaway, Parana. I love that movie.
dude, I've had that soundtrack for years
So
with
if
Mark
we're
Mark Dacascos. Yes,
oh yeah, if we're doing now, I'll be very honest. If we do a straight, um, what you would call it, if we do the history of martial arts films, it's not gonna. We're gonna pick like probably a film from each decade that was kind of synonymous of like their success, because you have to realize a lot of the Shaw Brothers films, which is what we saw here in America, were late 50s, early 60s and 70s. And then once we got into the 80s and 90s, we started seeing more Americanized take on it. And then when we saw the 2000s, we obviously saw Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, and then we saw the resurgence of the market. So, and we also now been exposed to, Korean dramas and Korean horror and Korean action, same with Japanese and Thai. So if we do the history of martial arts movies, I'm definitely going to pick China, and then we're going to discuss the Shaw Brothers, and then we'll pick some Shaw Brothers movies in there. You can't talk Bruce Lee. You can't talk about those movies I was mentioning Bruce Lee. I mean, that's
The
100%.
Big Boss. I mean, Chinese Connection. I mean, there's so many great movies out there. Um, but I mean, there's so many different fighting movies we can get into, like Cynthia Rothrock. Um,
Michael Dudikoff, American Ninja,
yeah,
Jeff Speakman. You can go down the list of all those B actors that kind of grew into popularity during that time because
Billy
of.
Jack. Yeah, uh, Vern's making me think of Mystery Science Theater 3000.
So yeah, I mean, we have a lot of stuff coming down the pipe.
Yes,
So
I mean, there's
we
so many movies we will not run out of ideas for episodes, guys.
and if you guys ever want to comment here at the end of the video, comment in the video, just let us know. Like, hey, I like that idea. We have our Instagram group,
Yes,
which
and by all means, please always we want everyone, if you wouldn't mind, to share this channel on all your social medias. That's Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. You email people if you're in texting groups. Get the word out there. We want to grow this channel as much as possible, and we have a lot of great stuff coming through the pipeline. Um, so, I mean, all these movies you're mentioning, we are definitely going to be hitting up these movies. I mean, this channel is the Outer Dimensions because we are dealing with everything, whether it's action, sci-fi, martial arts, or something that encompasses all three. We're talking about older movies, and if we're not talking about movies that came out 5 or 6 years ago. We're talking about movies that might have come 20 or 30 years or even further.
oh yeah,
You know,
we like to hit you in the nostalgia. That's part of the reason why this channel exists. We believe that if there's a movie that we think is good, we talk about it. We rewatch it. And we're going to be doing watch parties because thank God my daughters are done with my daughter and my wife will be done with school on Monday of next week. So hopefully I'll have a little bit more free time to watch a movie during the day and actually get a little bit more of a feel for what we can do, and then try to plan a watch party.
yeah,
But
and in a watch party, the way that would work is we wouldn't be showing the movie on the screen, guys. We could either do something through a Discord or through another format where we are all watching a movie through an exterior source or through Netflix or something else. Well, there are ways that other channels do this, and it's just gonna be me and Dre and maybe a few other people. It's us watching it without sound and us kind of reacting. Maybe we talk with people in the chat while they're watching it at the same time. That's how the stream or watch party would work. Okay.
yeah,
Or
we
or maybe
can't have it.
or maybe we'll do something exclusive where it's not shown on YouTube and it's just us hanging out in a Discord watching a movie, so anybody can say whatever they want. There's different options we can definitely play around with. Ready Player One is awesome.
Yes, it is, and we did mention that already. That was in Dave's top 5.
Yeah. So if you guys want to check out, that was actually our very first episode. because this is episode 4. And guys, this is the Outer Podcast or the Outer Dimensions podcast, but we are also Dre. There's his channel right there at the bottom of the screen right there. So please go ahead and check him out. And I know everyone in the chat's probably already subscribed to him, but if you're not, go ahead and check it out. In fact, Dre went live earlier today.
Yeah, I did. Just for like, if you guys don't know, I'm a stay-at-home dad. So one of the things I get to do that's fun during the day is that my daughter and I come on during the middle of the day. I do these little hour-long little lunch chats. I do them twice a week. Usually I do them on Wednesdays and I do them on Thursdays. Sometimes I do them on Wednesdays and Fridays. And we talk toys. We talk just about life. We just have a good old time. And a lot of the guys come on. We chit-chat. I do plug everything that is coming out, not just on my channel, but I talk about what Dave's doing. I talk about what we're doing as a podcast. I talk about what my friends are doing. So like if something's going on, like I'll say, hey, like Nerd Affiliated's got a show on tonight at 9:00. So be sure to check him out. Or I'll be like, hey, tune into T3. He's doing something this day. Because this whole idea is about community and networking, and that is what we're doing. So
And
to make,
by the way,
sure,
T3 Collects just launched a Discord, so you guys might want to check that out.
And just so you know, T3, myself, Dave, and Yukon Phil, we are in the process of trying to work something so we can have a server within the server, or a channel within the server, so to speak. So that way you guys will be kept up to date on whatever releases on any of our personal channels, as well as this channel and theirs. So that way you'll know, hey, the bell didn't work in YouTube, but now I can go to the Discord and you'll see the link.
All the time.
Exactly. So I've had guys like that, like our friend Steven. He's like, dude, it didn't hit. I didn't even see it. And we'll have everything pop up for you guys. So don't worry about that. We're in the process right now of working with T3, who's doing an amazing job. Thank you. Big shout out to him for working on that. Discord, if you don't know what Discord is an app you can download on your computer as well as your phone. And it basically functions as a chat app. So you can text, you can send pictures.
Basically, if you remember message boards all the way back, this is like the next evolution of it. It's a bit more interactive, where you can message the Discord server itself. There is an app where you can receive notifications, like if someone's going live or someone drops a link to something, or you dropped a thread and someone's responding to it. I kind of think Vern is just being funny, though.
I know, but if he is, this is what it looks. This is what it looks like. So like you have like little channels that are these little bubbles on the side. You click on it and then it will show you.
Your phone upside down?
No, it's not upside
down.
No, it's not. See, look.
Okay, I believe you.
It's the right side up.
Because my Discord looks like this.
It looks the same way as mine does. But yeah. But that's kind of something we wanted you guys to know, and we will put that Discord link of channel in there. Now we would suggest that if you join it, it's definitely be respectful. It's not like there. I know that there is a rules link that T3 has put in there. There is some things. Basically, folks, it's common human decency. You know, it's not like don't be a jerk. You know, that's me being polite. I would say, you know, don't be a butthole.
Hey,
you know,
don't be a jerk. Don't twerk. Okay.
Yeah, just know your role. Know that we're not here to hate on each other. We're here to love and support. That's what we do. That's what this is the idea behind community.
Karens are allowed. They just can't act like a Karen. Okay. If your name is Karen, you can still join. Just don't act like a Karen. Okay.
Oh God, that reminds me of what we talked about the other day, Dave. with Karens.
Well, I was just looking at Twitter and I kind of saw a Karen. So. And by the way, also since we had Dre's link up, I'm going to throw my little link up.
Oh, please do. And also let's throw up T3's up there as well, because T3 is at 691 and he had a goal, and it's now 2 days till the time frame would be that he wanted to get to 1,000. So I'm putting it out there that I would love to see anybody that's not subscribed to him now to subscribe to his channel.
Well, actually, believe it or not, you and I were subscribed, but the Outer Dimensions podcast was not subscribed, but they are now.
Now, see, here we go. So,
okay. Now, everyone who's in the chat right now, not now, but right now, I want you to go to this channel and I want you to share it on all your socials. That is T3 Collects. Also, T3 of the Overgrown Third Graders podcast. He's a podcaster himself.
Co-founder of the Collector Safe Space on IG with
Yes.
Dave, myself, and Yukon Phil. I mean, just a hell of a
So
dude.
there
So make sure.
there is his link right now. So guys, please check it out.
Jeff is funny.
Let's see here. He
I
okay.
love you, Jeff.
What number was he aiming for?
1K. We're looking to get 1K. What's he at? What's he at right now, numbers wise? Let's.
I show 663 right now.
All right. So our goal is to get him to 1K. Let's put a fair. I want to say by August, by at least August 1st. So I'm going to share it on all our socials, and I'm actually going to be putting a Twitter space. Dave and I are I'm trying to manage a couple of different social media things. And I mentioned this earlier. There's some changes coming on my personal channel. So be on the lookout for that. But we're going to pump this out. We're going to get them to 1K. We're going to get anybody that needs help to their goal. So if you help us, it makes us feel good. And
well, I am summoning the YouTube gods right now. I'm making sacrifices as we speak, in fact. Okay, right now he is at 665.
Look at that, folks. We can make this happen. And people think about just the numbers, and I was talking with Jeff about this earlier, and I've talked about this with Dave and with Carlos with T3. And the algorithm hates certain things, but it loves when you guys watch a video.
By the way, I found out recently through other sources, the live algorithm is actually non-existent right now. Apparently they're retooling it, so I don't know how that will treat people in the future. Let's face it, when it comes to regular content on YouTube, their algorithm has been busted for a very long time. It's always harder for us smaller channels to build up. I had someone ask me, why did we set up a new channel for the podcast? Why didn't I do it on my channel, or why didn't Dre do it on his channel? Because the algorithm. Both of us do a lot of different things. We wanted to put the channel, or we wanted to put the podcast on its own standalone channel, so that this is all podcasts, this is all talk show format, all discussion format. It is going to deal with different genres of movies, but we're basically kind of a movie discussion channel. And we're hoping that maybe that will help the growth. I mean, we're at 20 subscribers. I'm hoping by the end of the summer that maybe we can double that, if not more. We'll see what happens. Now, what are you at right now for subscribers?
Me? Oh, we're not. My numbers are terrible. Let's see. I am at. Let's see. I am at a whopping 68.
Okay. Well, you restarted your channel too.
Yes, I also did restart. To be fair, folks, I did restart my channel twice, not once, but twice. So I did lose a lot of viewership, and with that, I did lose a lot of the viewership because of where my channel changed. Because I wasn't so Funko oriented anymore, and I wasn't really heavy toy hunting. So it was more of reviews and movie and interviews. And,
by the way, when I say Karen, this is what I'm talking about. Don't be this. Don't be that. Okay, that's all I can say. My channel, Dave's Dimension that is, and honestly, I want to thank everyone who's been kind of supporting me, because I've had a lot of negativity recently in and around the channel, and even a few people commenting. And thanks, Vern, if you're still in the chat, I want to thank you for your support. Vern's given me a lot of good advice and helped me kind of keep my head straight, even though he might not think he has, but he has. Right now we are sitting at, let me get the exact number from YouTube Studio. Believe it or not, whoa, geez. I'm at $12.99 right now. My channel is all over the place though. I mean, my last video I uploaded was on my bike I got. I'm at 59 views. Average view time of only 4 minutes. It's like a 15 or 16-minute video, mind you. But I mean, that's the thing. It's like long form content. Like, I'm not a shorts person. I can't see myself ever really being a shorts person. Other people are. Maybe it's just me getting into the habit of it. But I recently lost about 200 to 300 watch hours.
Yeah, Dave and I just talked about this the other day.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of hard not to talk about the numbers because all of us, we start these channels for fun. And, then we start to see the numbers growing. You're like, hey, wait a minute. Let's, maybe I should try and see if how far can I take it, Because I've seen people who, and these are magical people who've gone from 0 to 6,000 in a year and a half or two.
Hell,
And
I've seen people do it in 6 months.
Yeah, and those people, nothing but respect.
The hustle's real.
Says you don't wear shorts.
Oh, I wear shorts. I'm wearing shorts right now.
You'll have to check out my Only Shorts page.
That's yes. We don't want to talk about that. This is a family channel.
See that's another thing you can't say the full word of.
The OF.
That yeah, you can't say that.
So say
but I mean, like, when you have a channel that, I mean, I've done stuff with props, action figures. I've done just live hangout streams. My channel's all over the place, so the algorithm just spits on me left and right. But I'm pushing forward. I'm doing what I can. I mean, it's kind of crazy that I'm almost at 1,300 and I'm not even close to being monetized right now. Not even close. But hey, I am who I am, and that's who I am.
Facts.
Yep, we're just under. I am at 28.97 for watch hours, and mind you have to have 4,000 for monetization. So, and even then, I hear you hardly get anything, but I hear it's still better than Twitch. But guys, it looks like we're going to be doing conspiracy next week. Dre, what do you have going on your channel this week?
All right. Well, as far as I know, I'll be doing some unboxings because I do have a couple of figures I'd like to take out. I do plan on going to the comic book store at some point this weekend. I don't know when. And I'll be probably doing a haul video on Monday, but I will be going live either tomorrow afternoon or Friday. I haven't decided yet, but more than likely it'll probably be tomorrow. And that's it. What about you?
Well, that's the thing. I do need to try and record something, but I don't know if I'll get anything out before the weekend. Friday morning, me and Mrs. Dimension are driving to New York City for the annual Ghostbusters Day event. Ghostbusters Day is technically tomorrow, June 8th, but every year the Buffalo Ghostbusters, we have a fundraiser for Hook and Ladder 8 because the firehouse from Ghostbusters is a functional firehouse. Every year we do a fundraiser to help give back to them. Last year we did some fundraising so they can get some vending machines for the firefighters who basically live at the firehouse, so they could actually have some sustenance. This year we are doing a fundraiser that is actually to help the families of the firefighters of the firehouse. A family transportation vehicle. Their goal is to raise $10,000. I think we're around 3,000 right now. If you guys want to help out, you can go to, either the buffaloghostbusters.com or you can go to facebook.com/the Buffalo Ghostbusters. And you can find out all the details right there. We're going to have live music this year. Actually, one of the artists from the original Ghostbusters movie, the Alisi brothers, are going to be there. We're going to have a few actors who have appeared in Ghostbusters 1 who are going to be there. Also, Kurt Fuller, who appeared as the assistant to the mayor in Ghostbusters 2. We have dozens of signed autographs from him that we'll be selling for the firehouse. All the proceeds go directly back into the firehouse itself, into Hook and Ladder number 8 to help support the FDNY. But we actually have Ghostbuster franchises around the world coming down here, so it's going to be a fun hangout. If you're in New York City or the surrounding area, you want to come down, it is, I believe, we start at, I want to say 12 or 2 p.m. on Saturday. That is June 10th. But guys, for all the details, just go to thebuffaloghostbusters.com or go to facebook.com/the Buffalo Ghostbusters for all the details. Hook and Ladder 8, they have their own merchandise that they sell to help support the firehouse. T-shirts, sweatshirts, challenge coins, pins, tons of stuff there. And there's gonna be just gonna be tons of fun. We have an Ecto 1 replica and an Ecto 1 from Answer the Call. So we have two replica Ectos that are going to be down there. Plus, we have the winners of the Ecto contest from across the country. We have three lucky winners who are driving their vehicles up to New York City. So it's just going to be a nice, fun hangout down there on Moore Street at Hook and Ladder number 8. So come on down and join us and say hi to
Nope.
Dave. I'll be suited and booted in my full gear along with everybody else, sweating our butts off and trying to breathe in New York air, city air right there. But it's going to be a fun time, guys. But I hope to have some content made from that, or at least made from the trip. But I have a backlog of stuff I need to open up as well.
Definitely, I have too much stuff I got to open up. But we will let you guys know what we're going to be doing. And like I said, just make sure you stick to the socials, IG, Facebook, eventually a Twitter. I'm gonna work on a Twitter for my personal page, but I'm also going to try to see if we can set one up for this podcast.
Yeah, I run the Instagram for this podcast. At least he can do is the Twitter.
Yeah, I'll run the Twitter for our podcast. So I'm in the process of working on both those things. So just letting you guys know that we will have all that stuff up there ready for you guys to go. And like I said, just tune in next week. We got 3 great movies we're going to be doing: True Lies, The Crazies, and
They Live.
And those are going to be the 3 movies for conspiracy.
And we'll see. Can Dre and Dave keep it under 1 hour? We'll see.
We will try. But you know what? It's going to be our time to jump through our portals, folks. So let you guys, we appreciate you guys sitting with us for this extra time that we went over. I apologize to Colin and to Joe if we have affected your viewership in any way. We did not do that on purpose. It's just, hey, we have a lot to talk about.
There's another streamer who started at 9 o'clock as well.
Kenobi. And General Kenobi. So I apologize. I apologize to you, who's a great loyal fan and huge supporter.
Well, I mean, honestly, we're going to be running against other streamers, and it's and if people can't catch a stream, they can always catch the reruns. That's the great thing about YouTube. Unlike Twitch, the videos remain.
Exactly. So from me and my brother Dave, we're going to go through our portal. We'll see you next time, folks. Be careful.
Take care.